Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, California Weather Watch. Today is December 16th, and right now we're looking at the infrared satellite imagery. You can see our storm spinning off the coastline here. It's got a lot of lightning associated with some of these bands, and this is eventually going to continue to creep towards the coast of California over the next few days, introducing precipitation chances, thunderstorm threat, and some gusty winds. And then we've got a secondary system going to drop down the coastline and start to include more of Southern California as well, and we'll dive into those details as we go through the video here this morning. Rain Sunday through Tuesday. So this is not the secondary storm for Southern California. There's going to be better chances with the next storm system dropping down out of the northwest. And I'll show you that here in the weather models coming up here. But you can see some of this rain chances and timing as we go through Sunday night, Monday into Monday night here upcoming. Now, taking a look at snow for some of the higher terrain. This is Highway 120 on the National Weather Service, Hanford, California. This is Tioga Pass. The snow levels are going to be fairly high, just kind of pointing that out, that we can expect some snow maybe above 8,000 feet here, but should not be a problem for some of the lower elevations, and this goes through Monday night. Here we go with rain probability Sunday through Thursday, National Weather Service, San Francisco, and you can see the 50th percentile here. Calling for 3 to 4 for San Francisco. I think that might be a little bit high, but there should be a good shot of rainfall coming for some of the Bay Area and some of the coastal areas and some of the Sierra Nevada as well. Now, looking at the day 3, this is the first one. Day 2, as you can see, does not have any thunderstorm threat right now, but that may change coming up here. There's probably going to be some thunderstorm activity pretty close to the coastline as we go through the day Sunday, but you can see they did introduce this for Monday, and this is actually going to move down the coastline here as we go through the week as well, with that secondary storm moving towards Southern California. More on that here in a moment. Actually, starting right now, let's go ahead and look at it. European lightning flash density potential. Scroll through here, and as you can see, we go into Sunday afternoon. Some of this thunderstorm activity trying to get towards the coastline here, and as we go on into very early Monday morning as well, and then kind of wrapping up the lightning threat for that storm, and then we bring the next storm down the coastline here. It starts to impact portions of Southern California as well as we go on in through the day Wednesday, on in through Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon shown there, and you can kind of see that system that pivots across Baja here and towards some of the southwest. Now, taking a look at the NAM 3 cam, this is 925 millibar winds up towards 2,500 feet. And as you can see, we still have the offshore component going on, though relative humidities. We still have some fire danger across portions of California. And you can kind of see that southeast component across much of the state. Storm starts to pivot closer to the coastline here. And you can see these offshore winds continue on in through Sunday. Now we're going on into very early Monday morning. We start to relax the gradient a bit here across Southern California, but we're going to pick it up across Northern California, some of the Sierra Nevada, even some of the Bay Area, the coastal areas will get a bit gusty as the storm pivots north towards Oregon as we go on in through the day Monday. Now, looking at 10-meter wind gusts here, I sped this up all the way here, and you can see some of these gusts coming across the Sierra Nevada. And if I scroll backwards in time, you can see as we go through Sunday night, those winds are going to kick up across the coastal areas and the Sierra Nevada here. So heads up for that. If you're off in the backcountry along the coastal areas, we could be getting some gusts up over 50 miles per hour in Northern California as that system moves across the area. And then we've got another storm system dropping down the coast after that, but we'll look at that here in a moment. Now, looking at that relative humidity, put that into motion here, and you can see the low relative humidity as we go through the day to day. And you can kind of see the diurnal and the nocturnal cycle here go into Sunday, and again, those low relative humidities. So we only have a few more days to go here before we potentially get that precipitation and some relief and try to dampen things up a little bit here across the state. So don't let your guard down, and let's keep the fires to a minimum out there if we can. And if you want a nice affordable home weather station, check this one out. You can still get it before Christmas if you order now. It's got an ultrasonic anemometer, all solar powered and wireless. Stores all the data for you in the cloud. Highly recommend that station. Now, looking at the GFS, this is last night's run here. We're looking at 18,000 feet. This is the storm currently. You can see the Hawaiian Islands here. There's California. So this will slowly inch its way towards California. It gets picked back up by the westerly Elizabeth. It's going to give it a nudge and push it towards the coastline a bit more. And then the next storm system takes up residents off the coastline here. Probably better chances for precipitation for Southern California with this storm as we go on in through the upcoming week. And you can kind of see the troughing hangs out for a bit, but then the strong jet stream arrives as we get towards the Christmas time period, and some very powerful storms have been showing up in the models, taking aim somewhere between the Pacific Northwest and all the way down through California. As you can see here, some pretty nice troughing showing up. So yeah, there's definitely worse signals to be had if you want storms into the state of California. It's looking fairly nice right now for bringing some powerful weather into the state. And we're going to be breaking that down here right now. Things are still kind of in fantasy land land for any one given location across the coastline. Now, I wanted to show you here a little bit more detail. So this is the temperature at 500 millibars, about 18,000 feet. And you can see the corresponding winds as well. You can see how this cold air is kind of cut off here from the flow to the north of it. That's why we call it a cutoff low. And you can kind of see that closed low here spinning off the coastline. But then you can see kind of that gradient get dispersed a little bit there as the westerlies come and give this a nudge and push it towards the coastline here. And look at the next shot of cold air. Can you see it right here? And you can see it in the winds at 500 millibars dropping down the California coastline there. And this one should be a bit closer to the coastline and down towards Southern California here. So that should bring better precipitation chances across a lot of the southern portions of the state of California on and through Arizona and New Mexico as well. And then that system pivots across the area as we go through the end of the week towards the weekend. And then the strong jet stream will rise. Look at some of this cold air spilling out across the Gulf of Alaska here, pointing some powerful storms potentially into the Pacific Northwest or into the state of California. I mean, look at this. There's some pretty interesting atmospheric river dynamics into the state of California. And look at the strong winds and powerful jet stream just ripping across the Pacific Ocean, pointed right at California. Still kind of fantasy for that for now, but we'll continue to look at that over the next few days. Here's looking at the spaghetti charts here. Not much has changed. Pretty good agreement in that storm kicking up across the region. Then the next one developing down the coastline here. And as we go off into the future, you can see why they call it a spaghetti chart, because you can see these noodles, these lines marking each individual ensemble member here. So there's 50 of them, and we tweak each initial condition to try to accommodate for our errors in our initial forecasting. And you can kind of see it paints a picture here of a strong Gulf of Alaska low here, powerful jet stream, and very cold air here. So it'll be a nice tight gradient across the region for storm potential. And as we scroll off into the future, you can kind of see that troughing right off the coastline there, trying to power some of those storms across the area. This is also a spaghetti chart here. We're looking at total precipitation between 4/10 and 4 inches. And if we scroll through this, you can see the initial storm coming across the region here, and some pretty good totals showing up across some of the coastal ranges, especially the higher terrain down across some of the Bay Area, the Central Coast, and in towards the Sierra Nevada as well. Some areas showing up over 4 inches here, total precipitation. And then as we scroll through later this week, look at how it includes Southern California. Some big amounts are possible. The models have been flip-flopping back and forth here, and that makes sense because there's going to be a deep subtropical tap associated with the low, but any kind of change in the track of the low is really going to dramatically change just how much precipitation you're going to get across Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, or San Diego, or off in the deserts as well. So those are the details we're trying to work out here, but you can see a pretty good signal for much of the state getting some rainfall, especially highlighting the coastal areas and the Sierra Nevada. You can see lesser amounts across some of the desert areas in Las Vegas. Now, looking at the GFS last night, let's take a look at what this would look like at sea level pressure. There goes our storm out here, and also 6-hour precipitation with it as well. And you can see that storm moving across the area, maybe mainly central and northern California with the first round. Secondary storm gets going down the coastline, and you can see this thing trying to spin up some heavy precipitation amounts back into Southern California as we go through this week towards the end of the week. They're taking its sweet time to move through, and then we continue that storm train. Look at this next storm. Man, that would be a doozy right there as we go through Christmas Day, just slamming the Bay Area, Northern California into Oregon there as well, potentially spreading some precip down across Southern California. Another very potent storm after that off in the fantasy land as well, and you continue to see them lined up here. So yeah, that's some interesting stuff to be watching as we go through the next few days for sure. Now, looking at the 72-hour precipitation, this is the initial storm here, and it's showing, that inch and a half for the Bay Area, better amounts northward and across the Sierra Nevada, getting some down across the central California coast as well. And as we put this into motion, this is a running 72-hour total, and you can kind of see that next system, how it targets Southern California better there also. Lesser amounts across the desert areas here. So that's what we'll be watching here over the next couple of days. Trying to break down the details, but the models are in good agreement with the first round mainly being central and north, and the secondary round targeting Southern California as we go through the week. Now, total precipitation in inches in the GFS. Let's go ahead and scroll through this here really quick. You guys get the idea. Initial storm favoring central and north, and the secondary storm, as you can see, bringing those heavier precipitation totals there. Now, looking at total snow-Kachara ratio in inches on that GFS run that I showed you that looked pretty stormy. And the initial system here, you can see it brings some snow, but this is mainly higher terrain stuff here. And then we start to go off into the future, and you can see some pretty good amounts showing up here as we go into the Christmas and post-Christmas period, potentially building up that snowpack here, which is always very beneficial to the state of California, as you guys know. Now, taking a look at the GFS, let's look at the extended forecast here a little bit and just kind of look at this jet extension moving across the Pacific Ocean. There's that system moving across Southern California here. Then this jet stream just really gets ripping here, and it's kind of a loaded gun scenario for some strong storms across the West Coast. Who is it going to target best? We still don't quite know, but some of the models, as I showed you, are targeting California, and this jet stream just continues on in through the end of December. Very powerful jet, strong gradient here with the warm water from El Nino here down across some of the tropics, and very cold air across the Gulf of Alaska. Very powerful gradient. Big time storm potential here across the west coast of North America. Here's 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. Goes through Christmas here, and you can see much of the lower 48 above average here. And here we go with the 6 to 10 day precip here. This would be that storm favoring Southern California. I mean, we're looking off into the future a little bit here, and this goes through Christmas here. And this is for the extended forecast. You can continue to see California in that potential. And I like looking at the experimental product here as well and see how these change and morph, but you can see that moderate chance for some heavy precipitation across a lot of the state of California. As we go through the end of December, we got that snowfall potentially coming in here as well. Cross your fingers for that. Still off in fantasy land right now. And even the risk of high winds includes much of California up the Washington coast and some moderate risk across the California coast. As you saw, the GFS just throwing some very strong storms into the state of California. And this is look at the entire state here, and you can kind of see we're starting to get a little bit low here on the actual snow water content across some of the mountains. But as you know, California, it can be a feast or famine, and hopefully we're going to be looking at some feasting on the snow coming across the higher terrain as we go through the end of the month. Here's the reservoirs and median snowpack, and this, of course, is the median running over many years. So hopefully we can start to add to that as well. We're doing all right now, but we need to start adding to it to kind of keep up with the median snowpack. And here's that vegetation drought response index, and you can see we have not been doing too great recently, and we're starting to stress the vegetation out there. So this rain would be very beneficial upcoming. And here's the drought monitor, still clear for California right now, but that can change if some of these storms don't perform as what's showing up in the models, or they target the Pacific Northwest. But anyway, yeah, there goes our storm. You can see the active lightning and some of these bands up here is going to eventually be moving across the state. So fun stuff here. And we'll go ahead and do this again tomorrow. Hope you guys are liking those videos. Click on that weather station down below if you want to get one of those before Christmas. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow.